I can't believe it took me 10 years to figure it out, but 4 major depressive episodes, no relationship with my family, called off my wedding in what some would call a manic episode, got on medications, got therapy, couldn't get out of bed for 3 months, crippling PTSD. And then eventually, when I called off my wedding in Mexico, I was down to my last $100. It was like, go do 30 days of yoga in a row. My family was trying to throw me in a psychiatric hospital. My fiance had locked my account. Wedding was off. My friends were whispering that I was crazy, which I understand from their perspective. And at the end of that whole thing, 16 of my finest brothers and friends, there was probably just 2. But I found myself in front of a spiritual master, and he looks at me, he looks at my aura. You've got this many Jupiter in your chart. They're all well positioned. Jupiter is about growth, expansion. Yogis would kill to have this. The only question I have for you is, how big do you want to be? What's up, beautiful souls? Welcome to another episode of a podcast. I don't know what we're going to call it. Whatever you're going through right now, the answer, no doubt about it, is love. But I found in my journey, love has many different textures, layers. And when they asked Jesus what it all comes down to, what's the essence of everything, he summed it up by saying, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, with all of your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew chapter 22, 37 to 39. So I just wanted to share from my experience so far what that really looks like, felt like. As a little kid, I remember hugging my mom's leg, dude, feeling everything. I'm not from here. And I just remember I got this bowl cut and I'm hugging my mom's leg at church. It was an interesting feeling even as a little kid. That's probably one of my first memories. And as a little kid, you look to your mom and your dad as your heroes for love. And for the most part, most parents do the best they can. And so my mom, man, if I was born 1,000 times again, I would pick my mom. She's not perfect. Nobody is. But she loved me. When my mom was an orphan. When she was born, her mother was sick, so they gave her to an orphanage. And my mom grew up not knowing who her mom and father were. And I think it was like a Catholic orphanage at the age of 6 or 5, or when her father, my grandfather's grandma, had died. My mom's mom, blood mom. He felt this. I got to get my daughter. And so he went to the orphanage with his new wife, and brought back. And then, from the orphanage, it was just a visit. But my mom, when she went back home, she couldn't. She said, I want to stay. And so ultimately, I guess there's a special relationship between a father and a daughter, which I hope I get to experience. the father's heart couldn't stand his daughter being away. So he asked the orphanage, "Can I take her home?" And he did. And my mom grew up, and she was, I think, like at the age of older. She read a verse in Isaiah, normal childhood, happy child, apple orchard, Seventh-day Adventist. Went to nursing school, and she never knew God's love. But at the age of, right before she got married, she was reading these books, Seventh-day Adventist books, and something touched her. And there's a verse in Isaiah where it says, "Even if your mother and your father outcast you, I will never." It was God saying, "Even if your earthly mom and dad leave you, I will never." And she started crying and crying and crying and crying. And my mom was never the same because she adopted her earthly father. And my mom has this love. Like when people meet her, they're like, "Mrs. Lee, why do you love people so much?" And it's just her. And she loves Jesus. When she was pregnant with me, she prayed. She was trying to study to pass her nursing exam. She failed twice, and she was pregnant with me the third time. She came to America, didn't know how to speak English, and was studying for a nursing exam. And she was pregnant with me while she was studying for the third time. And all she was doing was praying to Jesus. And boom, there I came out. Yeah, and my mom loved me. She showed me the love of Jesus. The version she showed me was a religious version, but it was what she, every single morning for an hour, prayed to. And she lived by it. So my mom would give me love for being like Jesus. It's a pattern, right? And that's what my subconscious mind was inheriting. I thought, like going to church and singing songs and, bowing when I saw my elders and dressing up nice on Saturday and, was love. Well, that's how I got love from my mom. "Oh, you're such a good boy," right? So I inherited that pattern. Like it was all about Jesus. Like from my mom, like my mom's devotion to Jesus is insane. Insane. So that was passed on to me. Like that's what my mom taught me. Sing love songs, you write about Jesus, it's all Jesus. And my dad was, they say if my dad wasn't a pastor, he'd be a gangster. Very strict. Probably the strictest Seventh-day Adventist pastor in the world. So every Friday to Saturday, like sundown, no TV, no meat. And my dad gave me love. His way, which was love. His way of loving me was by being perfect. So if I got a 4.0, good. If I got a 3.9 GPA, spanking. If I, and when I say spanking, it's a Korean spanking. And so I grew up with this pattern. And then my mom came to my track and field day where you race and you run through obstacle courses and you get a blue ribbon for whoever gets first. And my mom, she never volunteers. She volunteered one weekend and she came and she was, the mom who helps people out, right? Like the kids. And she said that, she tells me that she saw me running the 100-meter, like a race, like a 100-meter dash or something. I don't know how old I was. But the moment the person said, "Go," and I started running, she looked at my face while I was running and she told me, like, I knew in that moment, I'll never have to worry about this kid. So I don't think it was just this natural part of me that I don't know if it's past life, this life, or what. But when someone says go, I'm all in. Like there's something switches on in me, and I go for it, all in, all are, it used to be, all or nothing, all. Like when I wanted to be a basketball player, that was my dream, to be the first NBA basketball player. All in, rain or shine, jump soles, practicing during the summer, during going to the bathroom during recess. Nah, don't matter. Just skip lunch, recess, play basketball. Rain or shine, basketball. When I'm going to sleep, basketball. And it was just who I was. It wasn't like I was trying. It was just who I am. And so that was my pattern of love from my parents. When I was perfect, from my dad and from my mom. The idea of Jesus that she had was the closest thing for me of love. But it was still an idea. I felt it from my mom, but not from myself. And then I remember, like 16 years old, I had made the high school varsity basketball team. It's kind of rare for a sophomore, I think, to make it at that time. And I went on a mission trip to Honduras. And I don't know, something was moving in my heart. I don't know. I was journaling. I never journal. I was journaling to Jesus. I was reading a book about the life of Jesus. Something was moving in my heart. I was just a shy, basketball-driven 4.0 student nerd. And at the end of that mission trip, something caused me to leave and go out onto the beach. And as I was sitting there in Honduras, there's this beautiful island called Roatan. I was looking up at the stars. And for the first time in my life, I felt the love of Jesus. And for those of you who know, when Jesus comes through, man, he comes through. And I cried. Indescribable love. All night. Wow. Life-changing. So I came home. I'm all in. Quit the basketball team. Started leading praise at church. Went to go feed the homeless on the weekends. Probably one of the most greatest times of my life. Such purity. Authenticity. Effortless. Staying up all night writing love songs to Jesus. And like the church started booming. The church started like a effortless love revolution. Became the spiritual. I was so shy. But every once in a while, like something would move me. And I would find myself in front of the whole school with a microphone. Talking about the love of Jesus. And then people would say like, dude, Sam, when you talk, people listen. I don't know, whatever. I'll say it wasn't me. I'll find myself saying things like, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. And I would have these visions and dreams. For it is the power of God, where I would be in like Asia spreading the gospel. You look at my high school yearbook, it says medical missionary, most likely to succeed. I would lock myself in the prayer closet and just pray and write. And, my friends were going out doing things. I would just stay up all night writing love songs to Jesus. And I guess that was love to me. And it was real. And it was a fire. It was a belonging. It wasn't a performance. It was real. And, those teenage years where you get love from your friends, I understand those years too. Like, yeah, when you want to wear Massimo, you want to wear, the latest clothes, Pierce, you get love for being good at sports. You get love for being good with girls. You get love for, I wasn't kind of into that, but I was just like all basketball, all Jesus. And then as soon as I found Jesus, like, dude, like nothing else matters. And I chose to live my life based on, what I believed was the love of Jesus. And they interviewed me. I was chosen as like a yearly, like a student of the month for the newspaper. And they said, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to be a servant of Jesus Christ. And, I was probably the most innocent kid, I didn't know anything about the world. It was basketball, Jesus, and 4.0 GPA, studying until my nose bled because I was studying for Jesus. I went on a missionary trip after high school. I hadn't had my first kiss. I didn't know anything about the world. Basketball, Jesus, that's it. And I went to college. And it was like a Christian college. And I was a religion major. And this love started to like become lukewarm. Not on fire. Yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah, I go to church. Yeah, I read the Bible. But it wasn't what I knew to be true. And I lost it. I became lukewarm. And I remember I had never had a sip of alcohol in my life. I was 21, junior year of college. And I don't think I had officially even kissed a girl. I was 21. Oh man. I'd read these books where it's like, if you have sex before marriage, you are a half-eaten apple. And, you know, when I was young, I don't want to go too deep into it, but like, you know, my dad found out when my brothers had bought like, you know, Playboys. Long story short, he beat us real good. Let us know that was inappropriate. So I had this belief about woman and sex and purity. And then I think 21 is when I was sitting there. I was at church. Seventh-day Adventists go to church on Friday and Saturday. So Friday night I was at church, and my friends were upstairs, and they're getting ready to go out to San Francisco. Went to college in Napa Valley, California. And you know, I was looking around, and everybody was throwing airplanes. Nobody was listening. And I was like, what am I doing? There's a verse in the Bible that says, I'd rather have you be cold than lukewarm. I said, God, I felt your love. I've lost that fire. You've lost that love and feeling. So I was like, wait for me. I don't know anything about the world. You said you'd rather have me be cold. I'll be back. I felt your love. I'll be back. But I don't know how to be hot again. So I went upstairs, and I was the DD, the designated driver. And they're like, oh, B's coming out tonight. B's coming out tonight. And so I drove to Frisco, and we went to a Korean club. I didn't know how to dance. My parents had told me when I was a kid that if you move your hips to a rhythm, that's a sin. You're going to hell. So I grew up not knowing how to dance. I grew up like forbidden to move my hips. So there we are in San Francisco. And rest in peace, my friend. We used to call him Gangsta. He's passed. You know, and I said to him, yo, I don't know how to dance. And he goes, it's okay, don't worry. He's like, you just hold your belt like this, and you go like this. That's all you got to do. I was like, okay, cool. And so my friend pours me a shot. I had a shot, and then this girl comes in and grabs me and takes me to the dance floor. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never kissed a girl. I don't know how to dance. So I'm just like, and I did it so hard because like I said, when I do something, I call it my belt broke. And that's my memory from that night is taking my belt. Yo, like my belt broke. Anyways, there began if you want to call it the descent. It's a strange frequency and experience once you've tasted the love of God and you decide to experiment and go away from it, there's a big dissonance, especially when you've been programmed to believe that this God is in the sky watching you. And there's these rules. And if you don't follow these rules, this God will be angry and eventually judge you and throw you into fire forever. And that was very strongly programmed into my subconscious mind. So then, the only time I wouldn't feel guilt or shame, because I think that's what guilt and shame is, when you feel separate from this God, was when I would drink alcohol. So there became a 10-year spiral of, I know a lot of people say this, but like constant, continuous guilt and shame. And the people who loved me at church no longer loved me. In fact, they were like, stay away. And not their fault, I get it. And so there became this spiral where the only time I would feel able to connect with people, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and love each other, love one another. The only time I could actually like connect with someone else is if I was drinking. Because if not, I was full of guilt and shame. And so, yeah, there came a period of 10 years of, I can't believe it took me 10 years to figure it out, but like, 4 major depressive episodes, no relationship with my family, called off my wedding in what some would call a manic episode, got on medications, got therapy, couldn't get out of bed for 3 months, crippling PTSD, and all these kind of conditions that I was in residency, somehow got through residency, and then somehow, when I got that medical license, I remember when I got it, I cried. Not because it meant a lot to me, but because what I had been through. And I don't want to go too deep into it today, but yeah, then I learned, worked while I was going through it. And my definition of love at that time was this: the only connection, love is connection. I was disconnected from my higher self. And the only time I could connect with people was by partying. And it's an interesting thing, when you go through the darkest times of your life, you will find out who really loves you and who's a good time friend. And no judgment. The people who stick around when you're going through the toughest time of your life and the way that they talk to you while you're going through it, those are the real ones. They're few and far between. And when you find them, it's a beautiful thing. And it's almost a blessing when you go through these difficult times. And so, called off my wedding in a manic episode, and 16 of my friends that I thought were like, like my ride or die, my party friends, like we've been through nice together, man. They're my brothers, and there's also this sense of like Korean loyalty that I used to have, which I've had to deprogram. And at the end of that whole thing, 16 of my finest brothers and friends, there was probably just like 2. And they had frozen my bank account. I didn't know I was going to buy water. And, the universe had altered the course of my life, from being married to this 9 to 5 white picket fence doctor saving for retirement pension plan, Truman Show, to nope, you didn't listen. You did not listen to those inklings in your heart every day when you're driving to work. This marriage, it's not for marriage. This is not your path. And I would know it, but I would ignore it because there was programming and conditioning. You got to marry at this age. You got to marry a Korean girl. You got to settle down at this age. You got to have this. You're a doctor. You got to work this way. But deep in my heart, I knew this was not my soul path. Driving to work every single morning. And then eventually, when I called off my wedding in Mexico, I was down to like my last $100. It was like, go do 30 days of yoga in a row. And like literally, my family was trying to throw me in a psychiatric hospital. My fiance had locked my account. Wedding was off. My friends were whispering that I was crazy, which I understand from their perspective. Yes, I get it. But if anyone ever goes through what sometimes is referred to as a manic episode, the only way I can describe it is one of the most spiritual experiences of my life. Ungrounded for sure. And one thing that I want to mention is like, because of what I was going through at that time, I couldn't be around anybody for longer than if I was sober and I really mean like, I couldn't be around anyone without feeling guilt or shame for 10 years straight. And I won't go into all of the psychological reasons why. So that, as you know, the body keeps the score. So then once I found yoga, it was a slow transition to, oh, wow, like, there's a pause when I'm like 5 minutes of relief, 10 minutes of relief, 15 minutes of relief. Cool, let me become a yoga teacher. And then I love this stage. Some of you guys might know this stage when you first wake up, that there's more. Love is the answer. There's more. There's more to life than just taxes and death and bills and doing your best and dying. Wow. And there's that stage, right? Where you wake up and you realize, wow, the power of the breath. Wow, the plant allies. Wow, love is the answer. Wow, it's the honeymoon stage almost. I love that stage. 30 days yoga in a row. I was 70 pounds heavier than I am now. I lost, I had no neck. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, binge, like literally when I say Koreans can drink, like binge drinking, like a whole bottle and and then eating like taco truck, LA, no exercise for 7 years, right? And so I was 60 pounds heavier and then I started doing yoga and then I became a yoga teacher and then became a breathwork instructor. And then I would, like, the festival stage is probably one of my favorites. When you start going to festivals and everybody's there just having a good time. I had so many mystical, powerful, beautiful, heart-centered experiences that I'll remember forever, right? When you're in that stage where it's just like this love energy just flowing through you. And then there comes a certain time where you got to face your hero's journey, right? The honeymoon comes to an end. And you got to face reality, back to reality. Here you are in a job that your soul knows is no longer aligned to. But the 3D utilizes money. You have $300,000 in debt. Your family and everyone's telling you this one thing. What are you going to do? But your inner voice, which you know from your last lesson, if you don't follow it, it will get harder to hear, number one. And number two, the universe, if it needs to, will take drastic measures to align you to why you came, to the lessons that you agreed to learn. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. So the universe is always working for you. Trust the universe, right? Easy to say. So, 2 weeks before I was to become a partner, I heard the voice. I listened. 300,000 medical school loans. I didn't know what I was going to do. Everyone thought I was crazy. And what I failed to mention is it's insane how the universe works. And when you really like tune in to how you've been led in the past, really tune into that, there's nothing to fear in the future, lest you forget how we've been led in the past. And sometimes it only makes sense looking back. And when I look back, it's insane. Right on time, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And the way that the teacher brought me into his office, I'll never be able to explain. I really appreciate how he did it. But I found myself in front of a spiritual master and he looks at me, he looks at my aura. And he looks, and he goes, "What's your birthday?" And he's got this huge smile on his face. And for the next, 45 minutes, he proceeds to tell me about myself without ever giving too much information away, without telling me what to do. He smiles and he looks at me and he said a lot of things that day, and I'll never forget many of them. You've got this many Jupiter in your chart. They're all well positioned. Jupiter is about growth, expansion. Yogis would kill to have this. The only question I have for you is, how big do you want to be? Never compromise your integrity. Always, every day, take time for your spiritual practice. It's very important for you. So he tells me all these things. And I'm just like a LA kid just waking up. I'm like, wow, okay, well. And then he gives me a practice with mantras and kundalini. And within 1 week of starting that practice, and before he gave it to me, I remember the look on his face. It's like, should I? You'll be all right. And he gives me the practice. And remember, the way I am when I find something, I go all in. And when I say my former spiritual teacher had the spiritual power of Moses, I'm not exaggerating. What is possible if it's your path is tremendously powerful. And it's just super important to, however, eventually define what power means to you. And in this world, and what true power is and what is not. But that was love. The love that my father, no fault to his own, couldn't give me. My spiritual teacher gave to me. He believed in me. He saw me when I couldn't see myself. He spoke to me in a way that made me believe in myself. And he gave me a practice. And when a spiritual teacher gives you a practice, he's sharing with you his codes. And within a week of doing that practice, that's when I knew I was quitting my job. Like my entire quantum reality shifted like overnight within a week. Within 2 weeks, I was praying for literally praying for the liberation. That's all I did in LA my last year. I didn't do anything. Go to the beach, wake up, go to the beach, pray for the liberation of all sentient beings, do my practice for an hour or two, go home, go to the library, study about spiritual wisdom, go to the yoga studio my teacher taught at. That's all that mattered. When I'm in, I'm all in. And things started to happen. Be careful what you pray for. And I can't even say like for me, like it just started flowing out of me. It's not like I said, hey guys, I want to like help liberate all sentient beings. No, I was just there doing my practice, and this prayer started flowing out of me for the liberation of all sentient beings. Show me what I need to see, tell me what to do for a new global paradigm of mental health that treats the root cause. And once you know, you cannot not know. Once you know, obviously this is going to, if you don't know, what I'm saying right now will sound like crazy talk. But if you know, you know. That moment where you know that we are all one. I used to say that term, once I knew, I used to say that term 100 times a day. Once you've sat there and you've seen and you felt it all light up and connect you to the trees, to the stars, to the earth, to humanity, and you've had that felt visceral sensation in your body, then the words of Jesus start making sense. What you have done unto the least of them, you have done unto me. That's love, the cohesive power of the universe that connects me together, my cells together, my family together, my sanity together. The moment I stop loving is the moment I die. And the recognition of the truth of the all oneness, that we are all faces of the same one source. Many hearts, many bodies, one source. And it's almost like the lesson that my teacher was teaching me was love is also discipline. When a father disciplines a child and they're coming from love, and they're keeping it real with them, and they go level eye with them, and they tell them, I love this quality about you. This quality right here will get you in trouble in this world. It won't get you where you want to go. And I had many, 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 many mystical experiences with my teacher. Father's love. Father's love song singing over me. Divine melody. Perfect harmony. Now remember, he used to say something that you'll never understand. People will never understand. Spiritual, I think he would use the word masters, words, until later. And I'm starting to understand what he meant. And yeah, I remember I was in LA, loving people, because I was waking up. I knew love was the answer. So I was in LA, and I would sit there behind the desk, and I saw what they were doing to our parents in the Geriatric Institute. I couldn't take it. So I transferred, and I was helping people one-to-one, and I was like, yoga. I was like, breath work, right? Anything that was helping me, I was like, sharing, right? By the way, I'm not giving you advice. I'm just sharing my experience, okay? You do you. And so for 7, 8 years, I was sincerely, but there's a limit to how much you can help people when you're working within a system that limits you. So 2 weeks before, I quit, and that prayer started flowing out of me. Liberation of all sentient beings. Show me what to see, tell me what to do. And for the next 10 years, I went on a very, very, very deeply healing personal journey. Because the horizontal, I couldn't survive in the horizontal. I couldn't be in the same room with anybody without feeling guilt or shame, even my family, for 10 years. And my body held that memory. And because I had quit drinking, because the doctor had told me, if you drink anymore, you're dead. Then the only time I would feel relief is if I was doing crazy breath work, yoga every single day, and then my tools would change. Then it would be Kundalini, then it'd be mantras, and I was like a cripple. I couldn't love people. I couldn't be around people without feeling guilt and shame. So I would just focus on the vertical. And I really believe, because if you read the verse of Jesus, like everything Jesus said was gold to me. They said, like, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. And the second commandment is then love your neighbor as yourself. And so like all I did for 10 years was vertical practice. Because I believed that if I got that right, then this would take care of itself. Horizontal love. So on a certain level, now that I look at it now, like I was like crippled horizontally. I couldn't be in the same room without feeling guilt and shame with people. And if you can't connect with people, that's the purpose of being human. You want God to love you, love God's children. And so this crazy drive to just function was based on a dysfunction, guilt and shame, but it was driving me vertically, like Kundalini 2 hours a day, like it just, there wasn't a moment where I wasn't praying for relief or praying for a moment of clarity or the ability to regulate so I can be with people. And that's probably why I was an alcoholic, because when I would drink, that part of the mind would quiet down and I could have fun with people. But ultimately, there came a point where it's like, dude, you got to face your shadows. And so it became this vertical journey, which led me, all around the world, workshops, medicine retreats, Kabbalah, Christian youth pastor, music festivals, breathwork workshops, and eventually this wisdom called Keylontic science appeared in my hologram. And I'm skipping a lot because I'm not allowed or do not choose to talk about certain parts of my journey. But it led me to this wisdom called Keylontic science, the freedom teachings. And when I first found it, I could, like, there was something there, but it was, what are you talking about? There were three Christs. What are you talking about? Like Atlantis. What are you talking about? Lemuria. What are you talking about? Like, it didn't resonate with what I had been programmed. Even though I had done Kundalini, studied Tibetan Buddhism, and, really went all in on Dr. Joe's work and all these other things. Like, even then, when I found it, it was like, man, that's crazy. What are you talking about? Angular rotation of particle spin 45. What? All these things that, indigenous, I had my indigenous stage 2. The indigenous had said, you'll never know. It's the Great Spirit. Like, when my mom would say, like, it's God. You don't even, all these things. It was explaining the science. But not only that, it was verifying every mystical experience I've ever had. So there came a point where I was like, what? We have 12-stranded DNA. Eternal life is our birthright. These are the freedom teachings. And there's the original sound Anuhazi, which will activate your 12-stranded DNA. Eventually, I would study it for 15 minutes at a time. Eventually, there came a point where I was like, it's either true or it's not. There's no way anybody could make up this wisdom. It's crazy. The level of detail. It's insane. It's beautiful. But there's no way anybody could make this up. It's either true or it's completely bullcrap. And I'm leaving out a lot, but yeah. So I started doing the techniques. And the wisdom says that the sound of the techniques communicates with your DNA, and your DNA projects your hologram. And every single thing it started talking about in the wisdom started to happen in my hologram. And once you know, you cannot not know. But most importantly, it started setting me free. All the other things were good and helpful. They were band-aids. This began to set me free. Now, that's a very relative term when you say free. What I mean by that is 7 to 11 generations of karma and trauma were revealed. I had to look at it. Not easy. I had to feel it. But it happened not in a crisis, but in a natural, gradual way. On February 26, 2022, I was energetically and then once I knew, wow, this is legit. Whoa. What my mom would say is Sam, when you get to heaven, you're going to look at God. You're going to see something about God, something you've never seen before. You're going to bow down and say, wow, amazing. And you're going to bow down. And he said, then you're going to lift your head again and you're going to look at God and you're going to be like, wow. And then you're going to bow down. And I said, forever? Mom was like, forever. And when I found this wisdom, every day I'd be like, wow. What? No way. That's insane, the level of wisdom, patience, free will choice, trust, long-suffering, and love. And I was hooked. And I rented an Airbnb, and that's all I did. Techniques. That was when I'm in. And things started happening. But mind you, I still had this. My nervous system was still healing. Did it help? Yeah. Was it setting me free? Absolutely. But was my nervous system still firing? I'd be before I would go speak in public, I started getting invitations to speak in public. I would literally pray for 3 or 4 hours before I would go speak. And I would manage to somehow get through it because of this sacred why was strong enough. And little by little, I started to pray, just God, help me. Help me love your children. Help me feel safe with your children. And I would manage to be able to do that for longer periods of time. And it's been a process. And I'm still in the process. But the intention was, and always will be love. And love never fails. And I will never, ever, ever, ever give up on love. And so now I'm in process of maturing into another layer of love. To sit with someone and to see, feel, and hear them. And to remain present as when something is said that may trigger me and cause this ancient warrior to feel like he needs to fight. That perhaps it's trying to take away his freedom. Try to take him away from his family. It's not just me anymore. And when Jesus said, love your enemies, what does that look like? Practically. I've been contemplating that. Can I do unto others as I would have them do unto me? when their main purpose is to crucify and separate you. What is love? And how do I take extreme responsibility of my co-created hologram and sit as that impulse to defend and attack comes through my body real time, and allow and have the courage to feel it? And this ancient warrior who believes in divine justice, to have tact, to have grace, and to make a conscious decision as that feeling comes in and out, to come back to peace, to ask, what is love? And to give up my right to be seen or heard for something deeper, perhaps, to emerge. So whatever you're going through right now, throw some love at it. Love is the answer. And there's layers to this love. And you are this love. And nothing on heaven, on earth, angels, demons can separate you from this love. How great, how high, how wide, how deep is the love of God. You cannot fall out of love. It's impossible. And love never fails. Scott Galloway says the receipt for love is grief. The receipt for love is grief. The deeper you love, the deeper you have the opportunity to grieve. What a beautiful paradox of being human. Matthew McConaughey says the best apology is changed behavior. Been contemplating that. The quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. And so for this next stage of evolution in love, for me, I feel called to ground so deeply into my body. Takes time, takes intention. And to work on learning how to love God's children on the horizontal. What does that look like? 4-hour sessions, deep presence, triggering each other in a safe, sacred space, coming into co-resonance, seeing, feeling, and hearing each other. As one gets triggered, the 11 hold the space for them. And then their parts come back. And then their nervous system settles. And then that vulnerability gives rise to this brother or sister to go in, which is so rare. on planet Earth to have that space. To go in, to call his parts, to be aware of his parts, to share his parts as the group holds. And then that vulnerability opens up another. And doing that consistently, devotedly, with the triggers, with the uncomfortability, and all of that. And one day, hopefully, there's a group encryption where the 12 have become one. And then they can have some fun, do all kinds of fun things to help Mother Earth. So I just want to end now with a verse that I used to recite as a kid. I used to memorize this when I was in the Philippines. 18 years old. There was a prayer garden. I was working as a missionary in the Philippines, teaching English. And I would sit there and I would memorize this verse. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but I do not have love, I am a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and I have faith, I can move mountains. But I do not have love, I am nothing. If I give everything I possess to the poor, and I surrender my body to the flames, or give my body to hardship that I might boast, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. It keeps no record of wrongs. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but it always rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put my childish ways behind me. For now we see only a reflection, as in a mirror. And then we shall see face to face. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three things remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. May it be so. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth in my life as it is in the highest heavens. That the glory, character, wisdom, and love of original eternal source consciousness field is once again covering the earth as the water covers the seas. Taisha Intadoye, Taisha Intadoye, Taisha Intadoye. Spoken as it is stated, so it is done. LOVE, love is all I need. Connecting everything together. It quenches my thirst. Fall back. First is last. Last is first. Reverse the order. Forget about the past. Step into the eternal moment now. Party's blazing, and it's a powwow. And everybody gets to play. And everybody's invited. And we ain't even had breakfast yet. Have a beautiful week. Love, light, peace, and truth to all sentient beings.